The Hungarians would have said that he was incompetent, that he was responsible for everything, that he was a Jew and he was unable to do things right. Then it was important not to reward Romania. Romania had to receive Transylvania in compensation for losing Bessarabia and Bukovina. Romania was given Transylvania, but not entirely. Here is a clue that leads to the Hungarian autonomous region. The Hungarians were told they could stay there, but that they had to behave. That meant no more revisionist policy, no more Horthy, no more mediation from Vienna, no more external help. Romanians, on the other hand, were told, "We know how you behaved during the 2 years and it was not okay. You did nothing to integrate minorities. On the contrary, you treated them like second-hand citizens." Unquote. The Hungarian autonomous region functioned until 1956, when the anti-communist revolution in Hungary made the country lose the support of Moscow. Reformed in 1961, it was dismantled in 1968, when Nicolae Ceausescu implemented an administrative reform. And that was History Show.
Next on Radio Romania International, Think Greener.
Welcome, I'm Elena Enake. Every year on June 5th is World Environment Day, a day based on a theme recommended by the United Nations Environment Programme. This year's theme is One Earth and emphasizes the need for a sustainable way of life in harmony with nature. The United Nations Environment Programme is the authority that sets the global environmental agenda and promotes the coherent implementation of the environmental dimension of sustainable development within the United Nations system. Its mission is to provide direction and encourage partnerships in caring for the environment, informing and empowering nations and people to improve their quality of life without compromising the lives of future generations. The year 1972 marked a turning point in the development of international environmental policy with the organization of the first major conference on environmental issues in Stockholm, Sweden, under the umbrella of the United Nations. On 15 December 1972, the United Nations General Assembly adopted a resolution designating June 5th, the beginning of the Stockholm Conference, as World Environment Day. The UN resolution urged governments and organizations to take action today around the world to reaffirm their concern for the conservation and improvement of the environment. Also on December 15, 1972, the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution leading to the establishment of the United Nations Environment Programme. 50 years after the adoption of these resolutions, global environmental problems are far from over, and they have intensified. The decade 2021-2030, presented by the UN as the decade of ecological reconstruction, aims to prevent, stop, and reverse the degradation of ecosystems on every continent and in every ocean. In a message on Facebook, the Romanian Minister of Environment, Tancos Barna, stated that he wants for humanity to understand that it is inadmissible that while huge investment in military equipment is still a priority, funding for the development of eco-technologies is stagnating or is even non-existent in many countries and continents. He reminded that in Ukraine there is an unimaginable pollution of the environment, that in the Black Sea hundreds of dolphins die, that chemical plants are burning, and not a week goes by without worrying news about the nuclear power plants in Ukraine. On the occasion of the World Environment Day, the organization Worldwide Fund Romania launched a guide to sustainable actions that includes 50 simple and easy-to-apply tips. The document can be downloaded from the organization's website and can be used by children and adults in their daily activities. Among the practical tips found in the document are slogans such as Buy only as much as you eat. Plant flowers that bees and butterflies love. Reuse objects you already have. Don't leave plastic in nature. And use less water. To mark World Environment Day, recyclable waste collection campaigns have been organized in many localities in Romania over the past week. And that was Think Greener.
And with that, our broadcast in English for listeners in Western Europe, Southeast Asia and the Pacific area has come to an end. You can listen to our next program for Western Europe at 11 hours UTC on 13750 and 15130 kHz, as well as on the internet at www.rri.ro. Listeners in Southeast Asia are invited to tune in again tomorrow at 3 hours UTC on 11825 kHz in analog system and on 15330 kHz in the DRM system. Listeners in the Pacific area are invited to tune in again tomorrow at 5:30 hours UTC on 17760 and 21550 kHz. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write an email at engl@rri.ro. Goodbye.